you can draw this in Procreate. During this easy step-by-step Procreate tutorial, we will create this lovely landscape and we will turn it into a triptych. I will show you different ways of playing around with color in Procreate. They will help you find interesting color combinations. And during this Procreate tutorial, you will learn about layer blending modes, alpha lock, layer clipping mask, and more. And no worries, I will guide you through every single step. And once you have reached the end of the tutorial, you will feel so proud that I'm sure you'll want to share your work. If you are sharing it on Instagram, then don't forget to tag me in the image, not just in the description, because that way I will be able to find your work and maybe we will see it in the next video. Just like these flotastic results from my friends at Patreon. That's the place you can go if you want to learn even more about Procreate. I have more than 100 tutorials there, or you can go there if you simply want to support this channel, of course. But now let's move on to this tutorial. For this tutorial, we're using a canvas that is 3000 by 2000 pixels. Color profile is set to sRGB, and I have linked a color palette in the description. You will only be using brushes that are already in the Procreate app, but if you want to get some free brushes, then make sure to go to freefromflow.com to get my free brush pack and my ebook about color theory. So now if you're ready, grab your pen and let's get started. We'll start off by creating a gradient for our background. Let's go to our color palette and grab this second color in the first row and drag it onto your canvas. Then we'll go to the brushes and move to the airbrushing brushes and use the soft brush. Then for our color, we'll grab the first color in the first row. And for this brush, the opacity is at 60% and the size is at, well, let's set it at 15%. And then let's go over the top part of our canvas. Make multiple strokes to add that reddish color to the top part, just like this. Then we'll grab the third color in the first row, that bright yellow, and let's add that to the lower part. So around here, make multiple strokes until you have something like this. Then to turn this into a nice soft gradient, we'll go to the magic wand, then to Gaussian blur, and then slide your pen or your finger to the right on the screen. And let's go for 40%. And then tap the magic wand again to get out of here. Next, we'll create a new layer by going to the two little squares and tapping the plus. And then for our brush, we'll go to the calligraphy brushes and grab the monoline brush. And then for our color, we'll grab the fourth color in the first row. And now we're going to create a circle, and that's super easy in Procreate. Just draw a circle like this and then hold your pen in place and then tap one finger on the screen to create a perfectly round circle. Then you can drag in a color like this to fill your shape. And then let's place it in the center by going to the arrow here, the move and transform tool. Then under snapping, turn on snapping. And then when you move this around, you will see that orange vertical line. When you see that, you'll know that you are in the center. And let's place our sun about here. And then tap the arrow again. Then we'll make a new layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus. So we have 3 layers so far. Then for our brush, let's move to the script brush, which is also part of the calligraphy brushes. And then for our color, we will grab this one over here. That's the fourth color in the second row. The opacity of this brush is at 100% and the size is at, well, let's set that to 10%. And now we are going to create a mountain right in front of our sun. Let's start about here, then go upward here, make a pointy part, some jagged parts here, and then move down all the way to the right and make sure that the line attaches on both sides of the canvas and then drag in the color. All right, let's make more mountains in the background. Let's tap the sun layer first and tap the plus. And then for the color, grab this one over here. First color in the second row. And then we'll start about here and make a pointy shape. Then move down, make some jagged peaks. and then move all the way down so that you'll know that the line is attached on the sides of the canvas, and then drag in the color. Then we'll go to this layer and we will turn on alpha lock here. Tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, and now you'll see this little checkerboard pattern. And now we can go ahead and grab that soft brush under airbrushing. And we'll grab this third color in the second row. And now we can paint on this mountain without going outside of the shape. So we'll go over this lower area and add a little bit of this mist. Then we'll move on and add a new layer on top of this one. So we'll tap the plus. We'll go back to our previous brush under calligraphy, the script brush. And we'll grab this first color again. First color in the second row. And we'll make some more peaks. Some simple shapes like this. Go all the way to the bottom and drag in the color. Then again, we'll turn on alpha lock here. So tap the layer, turn on alpha lock. Grab the previous brush, under airbrushing, the soft brush. Then go to the colors and grab the third color in the second row. And again, add a little mist. Then let's move on, make a new layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus. For the color, we'll grab this second color in the second row. And for the brush, we will go back to the calligraphy brushes and grab the script brush. And then we'll make another peak right over here. Go all the way to the bottom and drag in the color. And let's add some mist here as well. So let's tap the layer and turn on alpha lock. Grab the airbrushing brush, the soft brush. And for the color, grab the third color in the second row again. And then add some mist here as well. Then let's move on. Let's tap the plus again for a new layer, but this time we'll do it on top of our mountain layer. So first tap the top layer, then tap the plus, and then for the brush, we will go back to the script brush. And for the color, we will use this one over here. That's the sixth color in the second row. And I will make more hilly shapes right in front here. And we'll go up here all the way to the right so that the line attaches on the sides, and then drag in the color. Then for this one, we'll also add some mist. So first tap the layer, turn on alpha lock. And for the brush, let's grab the soft brush again. We can also go all the way to the top to recent brushes, and there we'll find our soft brush. Then we'll grab this third color again, third color in the second row. And let's gently add a little bit of mist. Gentle pressure here. And then let's tap the plus and the layer menu for a new layer. Go to the recent brushes again, grab the script brush. And then for the color, we'll grab this seventh color in the second row. And we'll make another hill shape right in front of this one. All the way to the right and drag in the color. Here I'd also like to add some mist, but this time I want to make it a bit pinkish. So first let's tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, then go to your recent brushes, grab the soft brush, and for the color we'll grab this one over here, fifth color in the second row. And let's just go over and add a little bit of that pink glow. All right, let's make a new layer on top of this one. Let's tap the plus, then let's grab this color over here, first color in the third row, and for the brush, we'll grab the script brush again. Now we'll make some more hills. We'll start here, make a swooping line like this, and then another one over here, all the way to the side, and then drag in the color. Next, I want to add another rock shape here on the left side. And let's place it on top of this layer. So first tap layer 8, then tap the plus. Then for the color, we'll grab this one over here. That's the ninth color in the second row. And then let's create a rocky shape here, nicely in the foreground. Make sure the shape is attached to the sides and then drag in the color. Then let's add a little bit of mist here as well. So go to the layer, tap it, turn on alpha lock, then go to the brushes, grab the soft brush, and for the color, grab this third color in the second row again. And then add just a tiny bit of mist, tiny bit of a gradient to the bottom. Next, we'll add a light side to our big mountain. Let's go to that layer that's over here, layer 3, and then tap the plus for a new layer on top. Then tap this new layer and set it to clipping mask. Now, whatever we draw on this clip layer, it'll only show up on our mountain. For the color, let's grab this 5th color in the second row. And for the brush, we will go back to the script brush. We'll start over here and make a jagged shape like this. Loop around to close the shape and then drag in the color. Then we'll make another shape over here. Loop around to close it and drag in the color. And if you're happy with the shape, then you can actually merge these two layers. If you're not happy, if you want to erase parts, then you can simply grab the eraser and erase parts of this pink area. I'm happy with this, so I'll pinch these together. And then let's also add some mist here. So tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, grab the soft brush, and then for the color, grab this 3rd color in the second row. And then let's go over that lower area, just like this. Now let's add some more hills. Let's make a layer on top of this yellow one. Let's tap the plus. And then for our color, let's start with this one over here, 4th color in the 3rd row. And for our brush, we need the script brush again. Then we'll start about here. And we'll make a wavy shape all the way to the right. And then drag in the color. Now let's make a layer underneath this one. So we'll go back to layer 9, then tap the plus, and then for the color, we'll grab this one, 3rd color in the 3rd row. And this time we'll start higher over here. We'll go down, back up again a little, all the way to the right, and then drag in the color. And then another one, again underneath this one. So first tap layer 9, then tap the plus, then grab this 2nd color in the 3rd row. And then let's make another line. Let's start here and go up over here and back to the right. So it's closed, and then drag in the color. And now for the foreground, let's go all the way to the top to layer 11 here, then tap the plus. And then for the color, we'll grab this one, 5th color in the 3rd row. Let's start over here, make a wavy line. Then we'll go back up here and then drag in the color. And it doesn't seem to be working. There's something off with my iPad, but I'll tap continue filling here at the top and tap these areas to fill them. And then you can tap the check mark to get out of here. Now I'd like to add some more color variety to these hills. Let's first go to this layer over here. We'll tap the plus for a new layer on top. And then we'll set this layer to clipping mask. And then we'll tap the N over here and scroll up to multiply. Now we can draw on this layer with the same color as we have here, but it will end up looking darker. So let's grab that color. That's the 4th color in the 3rd row. And then we can make a shape, another wobbly shape. And you see we're using the same color, but it's looking darker. Now we can drag in the color. Hopefully it'll work. Yes. And then we'll go back to the layer, tap the M, and we'll slide to 50% opacity. And then if you're happy, you can actually pinch these layers together. Then we'll do the same for this layer. So we'll tap the plus, set that new layer to clipping mask. Then we'll tap the N and we'll scroll up to multiply. And let's also set it to 50% right away. Then for the color, we'll grab the local color. So that's the 3rd color in the 3rd row. And again, let's make a wavy line. Make sure the shape is attached to the sides and then drag in the color. Then if you're happy, pinch these layers together. Then go to this layer, again tap the plus for a new layer, set that layer to clipping mask, tap the N, and scroll up to multiply. And let's set it to 50% again. And for the color, we'll use the local color. You can also get that by tapping your finger on the screen, holding it. Then you'll have that color. Then let's make a shape like this and drag in the color. Do make sure that the shape is attached to the edges of the canvas. Otherwise, the color will spill all over. Now, if you're happy, pinch these together and then move on to this layer. Let's tap the plus, set that layer to clipping mask, tap the N, scroll up to multiply and lower the opacity to 50%. Then let's grab the local color and make a line like this. Then drag in the color, and then let's actually make another layer like this. Let's tap the plus again, set it to clipping mask, tap the N, scroll up to multiply, and lower the opacity to 50%. Now I'd like to use the orangey color, the second color in the third row, and then add another shape here for even more variety. Drag it in. And now we have some nice colorful hills. Again, we can pinch these layers together once you're happy. And now let's add a few trees here. We need them to be behind this yellow hill. So tap this layer and then tap the plus. And then for the color, we'll grab this one over here. That's the 8th color in the second row. Now let's zoom in a little bit and let's draw some very simple pine tree shapes. So just these bumpy shapes, because we're creating a stylized landscape here. So it'll be something like this. Then make sure that you close your shape by looping all the way to the left, and then you can drag in the color. Let's also fill this little area. We'll use continue filling. So everything is filled. Then let's go to the layer, tap it, turn on alpha lock, then grab the soft brush. And for the color, let's grab this color over here. It's a bit of a light bluish color. Now let's go over this lower area and add a bit of a gradient. Then we'll make a new layer on top by tapping the plus. We'll get back to the script brush. And for the color, we'll grab this one again, 8th color in the second row. And then we'll add some more trees right here in front of the others. Again, you need to make sure that the shapes are closed before you fill them. What you can also do is go to your layer and tap and hold this check mark. Then you can see your shapes, and then you can make sure that they are closed like this. By looping, make sure that you don't have any gaps. Then you can drag in the color, use continue filling, and tap these areas. Then tap the check mark. Then you can go back to your layer menu and tap and hold this check mark to turn everything back on. Now, if you're happy with your trees, you can pinch these together. Next, let's make some more trees. Let's go to a layer that is behind this brown hill. So where do we have that hill? That's over here. We are going to make a layer underneath this one. So first tap layer 12, then tap the plus, and then for the color, we'll grab this one over here, 8th color in the first row. Now we'll start here on the right side. Let's make something of an oval shape first, and then make these oval shapes on top. And then a bit of a pointy shape here. And then you can drag in the color. Use continue filling to fill these areas as well. Then tap the brush to create another shape right next to it here. And it'll be a bit like a wobbly cone shape. Something like this. Then drag in the color. Then let's also add a small little bush over here, or a small little tree. And we are going to create a bit of a cloud-like shape. So just these wobbles, something like this, and then drag in the color. Then let's move on to the left side. Let's also make a cloud-shaped like tree over here with these rounded shapes, but it's bigger than the other one since it's more in the foreground. So something like this, then drag in a color. Make sure you don't have any gaps. And then let's zoom out a little bit. Now let's add some color variety here. Let's do that by adding a layer set to clipping mask. Let's tap the plus, tap that new layer and set it to clipping mask. Then for the color, we'll first grab this one over here, third color in the third row. And let's go over here and add an edge like this. Then loop around so you can close the shape and drag in the color. And then let's do the same over here. Let's make a bit of a wobbly line, loop around, and then drag in the color. Now for this one, let's make another cloud-like shape. Something like this, loop around to close the shape and then drag in the color. And for this one, I would like to follow the shape a bit. Like this. Like this, loop around and drag in the color. Let's also add a little line here and maybe some oval shapes like this. Now for some lighter colors, we'll add another layer on top of this. So tap the plus for a new layer, set it to clipping mask. And then for the color, we'll go to this one, second color in the third row. And let's go over the edge for a brighter highlight. And over here as well. And then for this one, let's make another cloud-like shape. Loop around and drag in the color. And for this one, we'll also add a lighter edge. Then once you're happy, you can pinch these together and then we'll make a layer underneath it. So tap this, then tap the plus, and then for the color, we'll grab this one over here, seventh color in the first row, and we'll create the tree trunks. So let's go over here. Let's make a line like this. Very simple. And for this one, we'll add some branches like this, and then our trunk. And then finally for this one, let's just make a line like this, but we're going over that hill and I want it to be behind that hill. So let's go to that orangey hill layer that's over here, layer 13. We can tap it and then use select. Then make sure that color fill is not turned on. This should not be blue. And then we can go back to the layer menu, back to layer 17. And then what you can do, you can see that we have a selection of that hill and it's going over that bottom part of our trunk. We can tap the layer and use clear. And now it looks nice and clean. Now that we have our hills and our trees, it's time to add some clouds. Let's go all the way to the bottom to our sun layer and then tap the plus for a new layer here. Then for the color, we'll grab this one over here. That's the sixth color in the first row. And let's start creating some clouds. Let's make a big one over here. Loop around to close the shape, drag in the color. Now let's make another one over here. Make the underside nice and flat and then drag in the color. Then another one over here. Drag in the color. Then over here. Drag in the color. And another one over here. Drag in the color. Then to make the undersides nice and flat, we'll go to the selection tool, the S shape ribbon, We'll set it to a rectangle. Again, make sure that color fill is not turned on. And then we'll go over the undersides like this. Select the small part of the underside for each of these clouds. And for this one, like this. And then you can swipe with 3 fingers, or you can go to the layer, tap it, and use clear. And now you can see that we have these nice flat undersides. Next, we'll make some more clouds. Let's go to a layer underneath this one. So first go to the sun layer, then tap the plus, and this time for the color, we'll grab the 5th color in the 1st row. And let's add a cloud over here, for instance. Drag in the color. Another one over here. Drag in the color. And perhaps one over here, which is a little bit more flat. Drag in the color. And again, let's go to the selection tool and select the bottom parts. So we will get those nice, crisp, straight undersides. Then we can swipe with 3 fingers, and there we have them. Now I want to play around with the opacity. Let's go to the layer menu, tap the N for this layer, and lower the opacity to around 30%. Then we'll go to the top clouds. And for these, I would just like to add some more transparency to the undersides of the clouds. Now, a way to do that is by adding a layer mask to this layer. We'll tap the layer, and then we'll tap mask. And now on this layer mask, we can paint with black to mask parts of this layer. And we'll do that with the soft brush. And we need pure black, so double tap here to grab black. And now when you go over an area like this, you can see that it becomes a bit transparent. Let's also do it for this cloud. But when we want to do this for clouds that are close to other ones, we don't want to touch this top part of the cloud. Now, a way to do that is by going to the selection tool, set it to freehand, and then select this cloud, close the selection. And now when you have a selection, you can only paint inside of that selection. So if we grab our brush and go over here, we won't be masking any part of that cloud. So tap the S shape ribbon again to remove the selection. And then we can do the same thing for these clouds as well. So grab the selection tool, select this cloud, grab the brush, and go over the underside. Tap the S shape ribbon again, and then once more to select this cloud, then grab the brush and mask the bottom part. And then tap the S shape ribbon again. Now we have our entire scene, and now it's time to go ahead and play around with the colors and to create our triptych. To do that, we will go to the wrench, then we'll go to Canvas, turn on Drawing Guide, and tap Edit Drawing Guide. Now make sure it's set to the 2D grid, and over here tap this, and then set it to 500 pixels. Then tap Done. Then it should look like this. Then tap Done here at the top, and now we will create a new layer on top of all the others. So go here to the top, then tap the plus, then we'll grab pure white, double tap over here, and for our brush, we will grab the monoline brush. And the opacity should be at 100%, and let's set the size to 65%. And now to make sure that our lines will follow our grid, we need to go to the layer menu, tap our new layer, and turn on Drawing Assist. Now all of our lines will always follow the grid. And we will make one line following this line of the grid and one line following this one. So let's go here and make a line like this and one over here. Now we have divided our piece into 3 parts. Let's turn off that grid. We don't need that anymore. So let's go to Canvas, then turn off the drawing guide. And then let's start by adjusting the colors on this side. So let's start with the sky. Let's go to the sky layer. And then let's first make a selection of this area of our canvas. Let's go to the S shape ribbon, set it to rectangle, and then select this part. And then let's go to the magic wand and then to Hue, Saturation, Brightness. Now we can use this slider to change the hue of our sky. I want this part of our canvas to be a bit greenish, bluish. Let's lower the saturation here. Maybe a bit more greenish. So something like this. So I have it set to 86%, saturation to 17. And then you can tap the magic wand again to get out of here. Now we can move on to the clouds, layer 19 here. Grab the magic wand, go to Hue, Saturation, Brightness. And let's use the sliders to make them a bit more greenish. I have it at 56%. Then we'll move on to these clouds. Go to the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness. And let's make these a bit more greenish as well. They are a bit saturated, so we can turn down the saturation. I have it at 67 and 28. And then move on to the mountains. Let's start with this one. Go to Hue, Saturation, Brightness. And move it to the right. Let's lower the saturation a bit. And you can also use the brightness slider if you want to make it a bit lighter. My settings are 88, 38, and 53. Then let's move on to the next mountain, layer 5. Then the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, and move the slider to the right. I actually like the way this looks, so I'll just set it to 84 for the hue slider. Then we'll go to the next one, go to the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, and slide to the right. I want this to be a bit more bluish. Maybe turn up the brightness just a bit. So it's at 94, 50, and 52. Then move on to the next layer. There's a small part of the big mountain here. So let's go to the magic wand, then Hue, Saturation, Brightness, and slide to the right to 73%. Now let's move on to the next layer, layer 7. Let's go to the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, and this time we need to slide to the left. Let's set it to maybe 34%, maybe lower the opacity a bit to 43. And then we'll move on to the next layer, layer 8. Go to the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, slide to the left. Maybe lower the saturation a bit. I like the way this looks. It's at 28 and 41%. Then we'll move on to layer 10. Go to the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, slide to the left. Let's lower the saturation a bit, maybe brighten it up a bit. I have it at 18, 38, and 53. Now let's move on to the trees here. Let's go to the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness, slide to the left. Let's turn up the saturation a bit and turn down the brightness to make them a bit darker. So we're at 19, 55, 44. Then we'll move on to layer 9. Go to the magic wand, Hue, Saturation, Brightness. And let's see, we need to move to the right. Let's go to about here, maybe lower the opacity a bit and lower the brightness a tiny bit. So we're at 58, 41, and 44. Then we need to go to layer 12. Again, go to Hue, Saturation, Brightness. Slide to the right. Let's lower the saturation, maybe lower the brightness a bit. So we're at 76, 27, and 47. Then move on to, well, let's first move on to layer 11 here. Go to Hue, Saturation, Brightness. Then slide to the right. I want it to be a bit more bluish, something like this. Let's lower the opacity a bit. Play around with the brightness. We're at 92, 41, and 48. Then move on to layer 14. Go to Use Saturation Brightness. And let's slide a little bit to the left. Maybe lower the brightness. So we're at 44, 50, and 49. Then let's go to the tree. That's on layer 16. Go to Use Saturation Brightness. And then let's slide to the right. Let's lower the saturation, lower the brightness a bit until it looks like this. So that's at 91, 38, and 48. And then finally, we need to go to layer 17 with the tree trunk. Go to Use Saturation Brightness, slide to the right. Let's lower the saturation, make this a little bit darker. So we're at 68, 41, and 43. And then tap the magic wand and the S shape ribbon to get out of here. Now for the right side, I would like to show you some other ways to change the colors as well. So let's go there. Let's go to the sky layer and let's make a selection again with the S shape ribbon. Select the right side here. And then we are going to use a gradient map. We'll go to the magic wand and then to gradient map. And then here at the bottom, you have different types of gradients. You can see they immediately change the colors of your sky. This is a great way to experiment. And I want to create our own gradient. Let's tap the plus for a new one. And now you can see the slider. Here on the left side, you can change the dark colors. And on the right side, you can change the light colors. Now for our light colors, let's tap here and let's go to our color palette. And let's tap this one. We'll have a light color at the top of our sky. Then we'll make another block here. Let's tap here. Let's tap again. And for this area, we will grab this color. And then for this one at the end, we will use a yellow. And now you can see that we have a nice gradient from yellow to that light. You can also use these sliders to change your gradient. I want it to be about here. And then let's tap the magic wand to get out of here. Now let's also change the color for our clouds. I mainly want to change the color of the bigger clouds. So let's go to layer 18 here, then to the magic wand, and then to Use Saturation Brightness again. And let's make them a little bit more yellowish. And perhaps a bit brighter. So something like this. We're at 55, 50, and 57. And then let's tap the magic wand again to get out of here. Next up for these hills, I'd like to show you another way to change the color here. Let's go to those layers. We have them over here. We have a little part, but let's start with this one since there is a bigger part of that hill in this area. So let's start there, make a new layer on top by tapping the plus. Then we'll set this layer to clipping mask so that whatever we do here, it'll only show up on that hill. And then we will change the layer blending mode. We'll tap the N and then we'll scroll down to color, which is great to change the color on a layer. And for that color, we are going to grab this one over here. That's the 6th color in the 3rd row. And let's just drag it onto the layer. And then we are going to duplicate this layer so that we can also add this color to this hill and this part of the mountain here. So let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, drag this on top of this layer, and tap it, turn on clipping mask, and then finally we'll duplicate it again and drag it down to our mountain layer, tap the layer, and turn on clipping mask. Now for the final layers, let's play around with Use Saturation Brightness again. First, let's scroll up to this layer, then go to the magic wand, Use Saturation Brightness, and let's make this a bit pinkish. We can turn up the saturation a bit, and then we can move to this layer over here, layer 13. Then go to the magic wand, use saturation brightness, and let's make this one pinkish as well. I'm going to turn up the saturation, make it a little bit darker, something like this. I have it set to 39, 66, and 47. Then we'll go to the next one, which we can see that's this one over here, layer 11. Go to the magic wand, use saturation brightness, and then let's shift to a purplish color, something like this. We can turn up the saturation a bit. I have it set to 31, 62, and 50%. I kind of like the way the foreground color looks, so let's move on to our trees. Let's go to the layer with the trees, layer 16, then go to the magic wand, use saturation brightness, and I want to make these a nice warm reddish color with a high saturation, something like this. I have it set to 42, 69, and 50%. And I think we can keep the tree trunks like this. Let's tap the magic wand and the selection tool. And now we have a nice triptych with different colors. This is really a great way to experiment with colors and try different versions of your landscape. So go ahead and use these tools for your next artwork. Perhaps you would like to try this mountain landscape next. It's slightly more challenging, but I'm sure you can do it. I'm looking forward to seeing your results. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.